Everyone thinks they know who's going to win this match. Jannik Sinner is the world number 1. He's been the best player at Wimbledon this year. He's looked confident, composed, and almost untouchable. So why are so many tennis experts still refusing to count Novak Djokovic out? That's the question surrounding the biggest semifinal of the tournament. Because this isn't just another match. It's the ultimate test of whether the new generation is finally ready to take over. Or whether the greatest champion of this era still has one more masterpiece left. On one side stands Jannik Sinner, a player who has transformed himself into the most consistent force in men's tennis. On the other stands Novak Djokovic, a 7-time Wimbledon champion who has built his career by winning the matches everyone thought he would lose. So before these two step onto center court, let's break down the one matchup, the one tactical battle, and the one hidden factor that could decide who reaches the Wimbledon final. On paper, Jannik Sinner looks like the favorite. And honestly, it's easy to understand why. The Italian has been outstanding throughout Wimbledon. He's serving with confidence, dominating from the baseline, and finishing points with the authority of a world number 1. Even more importantly, he's reached the semifinals without spending unnecessary hours on court. That means he'll arrive fresher, stronger, and physically ready for one of the biggest matches of his career. But here's where the story becomes interesting. Novak Djokovic's route has been completely different. He's been forced into longer battles. He's had to solve difficult moments. And while that may sound like a disadvantage, history suggests it could actually become one of his biggest strengths. Because Djokovic has built his entire career on surviving tough matches before producing his very best tennis when it matters most. That's why this semifinal isn't simply a battle between two players. It's a battle between momentum and experience, between fresh legs, and a champion who's been in this exact situation more times than anyone else left in the draw. So here's the real question. Will Sinner's dominant run give him the advantage? Or has Djokovic already been battle-tested for the challenge that's about to come? To answer that, we need to look at the one thing every preview has been talking about. Their head-to-head record. If you've looked at the head-to-head record, you might think you already know how this match will unfold. But Wimbledon has a habit of rewriting tennis history. This rivalry has changed dramatically over the last few seasons. When Jannik Sinner first faced Novak Djokovic, there was an obvious gap. Djokovic had the experience, the confidence, and the ability to control the biggest moments. Today, that gap is much smaller. Sinner isn't just another young player trying to challenge a legend. He's the world number 1, a Grand Slam champion, and a player who genuinely believes he can beat anyone on tour. That's exactly why this semifinal feels different. But here's the statistic that really matters. Beating Novak Djokovic is one challenge. Beating Novak Djokovic at Wimbledon is a completely different one. Center court has been his kingdom for more than a decade. He understands the movement, the pace, the pressure, and most importantly, he knows how to win when matches become uncomfortable. That's where this semifinal could be decided. Not by who hits the hardest forehand, not by who serves the most aces, but by who makes the better decisions when every point starts to feel like a match point. Because when pressure reaches its highest level, Djokovic usually becomes even more dangerous. The question is, can Sinner stay patient enough to stop him? Or will Djokovic once again turn experience into victory? To answer that, let's break down the tactical battle that could decide this semifinal. So, what actually decides a match like this? It isn't just who serves better, or who hits harder. It's who can force the other player to play uncomfortable tennis. For Novak Djokovic, the mission is clear. He cannot allow Sinner to control the baseline. If rallies become too predictable, Sinner's power and timing can quickly take over the match. Instead, expect Djokovic to constantly change the rhythm, mix the pace, use his backhand to redirect rallies, and make Sinner hit one extra shot, again and again. It's a strategy that's frustrated some of the biggest hitters in tennis history. For Jannik Sinner, the challenge is completely different. He can't afford to become passive. If he gives Djokovic time to settle into long rallies, the Serbian will slowly take control of the match. Sinner has to be aggressive from the very first ball. Attack the second serve, step inside the baseline, and keep Djokovic under pressure before he has a chance to dictate the point. But there may be one statistic that decides everything. The first serve percentage. If Sinner lands a high percentage of first serves, he'll earn more free points and avoid the long rallies Djokovic thrives on. If that percentage drops, the momentum could shift very quickly. That's why this semifinal may not be won by the player who hits the most winners. It could be won by the player who makes fewer mistakes when the pressure reaches its highest point. And that's exactly why making a prediction isn't as straightforward as many fans think. So, after looking at every key factor, who really has the edge? So, after breaking down the form, the tactics, the head-to-head record, and the biggest matchups, where does that leave us? Jannik Sinner has almost everything working in his favor. He's the world number 1. He's playing with confidence. He's looked physically fresher throughout the tournament. And he's been one of the most consistent players at Wimbledon this year. If he serves at his highest level and controls the baseline from the opening game, he has every chance of reaching the Wimbledon final. But Novak Djokovic has built his legacy on moments exactly like this. When the pressure is at its highest, when the stakes couldn't be bigger, that's often when he produces his best tennis. That's why this semifinal feels impossible to predict with complete confidence. One player represents the future of men's tennis. The other is one of the greatest champions the sport has ever seen. So here's our prediction. We give Novak Djokovic a slight edge. Djokovic 51%, Sinner 49%. Not because Sinner isn't capable of winning, but because Wimbledon has repeatedly shown that counting Novak Djokovic out is one of the biggest mistakes in tennis. At the same time, don't be surprised if this becomes the match that officially announces a new era. Because if Sinner defeats Djokovic on center court, it won't just send him into the Wimbledon final. It could become the biggest statement victory of his career. Either way, tennis fans are about to witness one of the most anticipated matches of the season. Now we want to hear your prediction. Does Novak Djokovic find a way once again? Or is this the day Jannik Sinner finally takes over? Leave your prediction in the comments below. If you enjoyed tennis news, match previews, expert analysis, and the biggest stories from the ATP and WTA tours, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the match.